in other parts of the world. And as you can well see, I'm sure your listeners will agree that nowadays those very countries are, are begging with their begging bowls to others for help. And that is because of the exploitation of the capitalist system or ideology. So I would say to you that finally, if you want a summary, Islam is a deen, not a spiritual or political belief. It's a deen which has a complete way of life, something we believe in, which we call Tawheed, live by, the Sharia, which we propagate and are willing to call for and even die for, we believe, by way of dawah and jihad.
Okay, very good. Kamal, since Islam makes no distinction between church and state, going back to that idea, how is the existence of Islamic political states a threat to the current structure of the West today?
Well, we have to understand, number one, is what Brother Enjam said, that, they're trying to bring about Allah law, the law of God, instead of law, man-made law. If we look at Sharia itself, we found that Sharia itself, 60% of Sharia law is made from hadith. And from there, about 26% is seerah, and the rest is a Holy Quran. So therefore, when you look at the Sharia law, you'll find out the majority of it is Muhammad made. It is not made by Allah himself. So, and if we look at the life of Muhammad himself, how he lived his life, he was making up the story as they're going, and Allah was defending him after he did one mistake after the other. So therefore, it was a man living life, and Allah have to defend the man that he called. And so therefore, all the Muslim models their life after Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam. And by doing so, therefore, what happened is it started, to be equal to human rights, but then it comes about where it shuns everything and bring about death by the sword according to Sharia law. And if we look at what Brother Enjam said, he said, there is no deception in Islam. As a matter of fact, the majority of the war of Islam were khud'ah. They were completely deceptive war. These were Islamic based on Muhammad, how Muhammad fought 26 of the battle, that he went out there and deceived his enemy, and how he deceived his enemy into different situation to conquer them. So therefore, we find out the whole thing is based on deception by Muhammad himself, even in the beginning, and it was a Bedouin style, and all of it is pre-existed Islam, which is he inherited from his Bedouin tribe, the Quraysh, and he brought it with him to Islam, and he called it Islam later on. Bringing this law to Western civilization and a new model of freedom and what so have you, of course, it's not going to agree, and it's going to divide between the classes. So therefore, they must declare that it is the holy belief and religion. The truth is, Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam, took many women himself. It is the right of a Muslim man under the Hami status, under the law of war, to take women as sex slave and have sex with them, and even sell them, after he had sex with them. So therefore, it is in the Holy Quran. It's prescribed in Surah An-Nisa, and also in Hadith Bukhari or Muslim, the 136 series, all of it over there. So if you call this is, Brother Enjam, if you call this is the religion of Allah, and you call this is a holy God-made law, then we have a problem in here, because I can go and live on a street and kill and rape and do all this and say, Allah, God has commanded me. These are the laws that we're dealing with, which is they call it holy, and I'm calling it, it's not holy, and it is man-made, and it is, this is right now, this is, it's a laughter. Okay. It's something to laugh at.
Real quick, Pastor Hisham, show us where in the Quran it calls to make Islam the universal religion, and then we'll move on.
It's not in one verse. There are more than 100 verses.
Yeah, can you give us a few of those?
Let me see if... First, the most powerful verse about jihad, when the sacred months and which have passed, then kill the mushrikun wherever you find them, and capture them and besiege them and prepare for them each and every ambush. But the hadith of Muhammad, as Brother Kamal was saying, always explains more, you know. I'm not picking that verse because I want really to distort Islam, but it's one of the most powerful, really, from Surah At-Tawbah 9. But the hadith of Muhammad says, I've been commanded to fight against people till they testify there is no God but Allah, that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, and they establish the prayer and pay zakat, and they, if they do that, if they do it, their blood and property are protected. This is from Muslim. I have a few things to answer Brother Anjem, if there is time.
Yeah, you can go ahead real quick, but then we have to move
Yeah,
around.
because wherever I appear talking to Muslim brothers, they try to practice character assassination, saying supposed to be converts or something like this. I want to say that I come from the tribe of Bani Makhzum, the tribe of Quraysh. We trace the family to that tribe, and I challenge Brother Anjem that I can recite the Quran better than him. I used to memorize more than half of the Quran by heart. And this character assassination goes nowhere, really. Then one point, which is very important point, we shouldn't mix between Christianity and the West. What he was talking about, pornography and other stuff, you know, that's, the Western culture is different from Christianity. Thank you very much.
Okay, very good. Let's now move on to the concept of jihad as it's revealed in the Quran, but also as it's interpreted by Muslims today. So I want to turn it over to Ms. Anur. The concept of jihad, take us through the four stages of it so that our audience understands it.
الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. I testify that there is none worthy of worship beside Allah, and that Muhammad is the final messenger of Allah. And I'd like to start just by also inviting everybody in the studio and the audience to find out about Islam and to come to a common word between us, the Muslims, and with the people of the book, the Jews and the Christians. Because we all agree that there is none worthy of worship beside God, the one who created us all. And he is the only one who has any right to order us or forbid us, or to make law, or to say that something is lawful or unlawful, or to decide what is good or what is bad for the people, or what should be our objectives, or our values, or our morals. It cannot be in the hands of people to decide and override the will of God. And I want to mention as well, because the priest that was speaking just a moment ago noted the contradiction between the Western values and the Western culture of pornography and drinking and gambling and all the other vice that they engage in, and Christianity. And this is why I am a bit concerned. Why is it that when Islam is so much purer than anything we have in the West, why would a Christian choose to defend the Western values and the Western problems of society, the diseases they bring? I'm sure no Christian would agree with homosexuality or lesbianism or adultery or pornography. And yet Islam is the only one calling for any form of reformation in the world, in the laws and in the society, to bring back that purity to the society. And I wanted to mention as well regarding the Sharia, because we've already started to talk about the Sharia of Islam. And you asked the question earlier, the purpose of Islam. And so I wanted to mention there are 5 purposes of the Sharia. The purpose of the Sharia, maqasid al-Sharia, is to protect the deen or the religion of Allah, of God, of monotheism, to believe in only one God, and to prevent the worship of idols, to protect the life of the people, and to protect the honor of the people, and the wealth, and the mind of the people. These are the main objectives of the Sharia.
The honor, I have to cut you off because actually my question to you was to take us through the 4 stages of jihad, but since you brought it up, do you mean the protection of which people, the Muslim people?
All people in the society, equally? Whether Muslim or Zimmi, non-Muslim living under the Sharia.
Protect them equally?
I mean, we mentioned as well, yes, about the hadith saying that the Prophet has been ordered to fight people until they say the kalima, la ilaha illallah. But also we have the verse of Tawbah saying that if people from the non-Muslims seek your protection and seek a treaty or covenant with you to live in peace, then accept and protect them. And this is the situation with the jizya, with the zimmi, the people who live under an Islamic state. They will be protected. They will be protected as citizens of an Islamic state under the Sharia of Islam. Their mind, their wealth, their body, their life, and their honor will be protected in a way that they will never be protected under Western law. It will never be protected under any other way of life.
But aren't they? But aren't they protected right now? Aren't they protected? Right? Aren't they protected? Right? Isn't everybody protected equally right now under Western law?
Not at all. If you look to any country in the West especially, you'll find that the minorities are always discriminated against. You'll find that there are certain laws that are created.
Okay, but you said the minority is always discriminated against. In an Islamic state, wouldn't the minority be Jews and Christians, and the discrimination would be treating them as dhimmis, right? But you're defining it. You're defining it as protecting them.
A question about treating a dhimmi as a dhimmi, because you cannot treat a non-Muslim as a Muslim. If you treat a non-Muslim as a Muslim, that would be injustice, because a Muslim is obliged to pray. You will punish him if he doesn't pray. You can't ask a Jew to be punished if he doesn't pray like the Muslims, or if he doesn't pay zakat, or if he doesn't fast in Ramadan. It's not their religion to do so. They're not obliged to do so. And so to treat non-Muslims and punish them for crimes that is only a crime for a Muslim to do is not fair, and that is injustice. So rather, they are protected and their own life. If you look to the Muslim world, the oldest churches and the synagogues, the oldest temples of the mushrikeen, they are in the Muslim lands, because they were never destroyed when Islam conquered. This is the difference. Yes, Islam would always expand, and expanded all over the world quickly. And the people, they never left Islam. And even the non-Muslims who stayed there, they were happy to live under Islam, in harmony and in peace. Why? Because when Islam expanded and invaded the country, they brought to them justice and took away the tyranny and the injustice. They brought to them fairness, took away the taxes, took away the oppression, and protected their life and their honor and their blood and their wealth, and protected them from outside attack, as well as the crime and the persecution and the injustice within their own countries. In comparison, when the Crusades were expanding all over the world, you found that they were murdering and killing and raping. And even Christian historians talk about when they entered Jerusalem, the streets were filled with blood and heads, and they were even roasting the children alive to eat them. This is the difference between a state which expands with violence and is spreading injustice and tyranny compared to Islam. When Islam, it would expand, it was expanding to remove the injustice and to establish justice in the earth where they've never seen it before. And I think Britain and America, the Western world today,
we have to cut you off and hand it over to Kamal just for an opportunity to respond, and then we'll come back to you. Go ahead, and Kamal.
Unfortunately, brother Munzir Rahman, he didn't know how to answer the question, so he went on what he knows and what he teaches on. So I'm worried about this, because he's coming to something that he's avoiding completely, and he's doing dawah in here. Number two is, the difference between Christianity, and Islam. Islam is still living by the word, to wash your hand, wash your head, to do this much, whatever, by work. Therefore, whatever you do every day, you are living your life, and you can be sinning, you can be hooked on pornography. And if you look at the majority of the oil country, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, Oman, all of them, the majority of them live in Europe and Lebanon and different places, and we know how they live their life. They live in sin, which is sleeping with little boys and sleeping with girls and drinking and doing different things and gambling and living life. It's a horrible, horrible life. So when you're comparing, Christianity to Islam, the Muslim are, the hypocrite when it comes to that. How do I know? Because I lived that life. The majority of the imam that I lived with and worked with and worked under, they had double standard. Do what I say, don't do what I do. And so when you're trying to contradict Christianity, and yet Islam itself, with the leaders' country, the one who uphold the Sharia law, Saudi Arabia, is the most deceptive and leading by deception. And when you look at all of them, one after the other, they are following in the same rank. Then you look at the Christians live by the word. They don't live, they live according to their heart. What does that mean? is where your heart is, where your treasure, is. So you live purely unto God, because God tests the heart, and God made us in his image, man and woman. So we don't have to be slave, as Islam says, submission. We live as the children of God.